right, welcome back to All Hitches, NoVA's #1 football podcast. Coach Mason, howdy, partner.
How are you doing?
I am doing great, sir. I mean, the weather is here, 75 degrees every day. We live in, is this heaven? No, it's Northern Virginia.
I planted some grass seed. I had like a little thing in front that had a lot of mulch, and we dug up the mulch and started growing grass. And uh, it's really expensive to do that because you have to water it constantly, all the time. Like my water
Yeah.
bill is almost 3 times what it normally is because you have to keep it constantly wet. You have to constantly put the sprinkler on, and you don't think that 15 minutes at a time, a couple days a week is going to add up to a lot, but it adds up to quite a bit.
You sound like my dad. I was just at my dad's, and he was actually complaining about his water bill,
Yeah.
doing the yard work and all, other stuff. And I said, Dad, I have a swimming pool. All right. I said, I don't want to hear about water bill complaints. All right? And then he says, it gets even better. He says, well, what is yours then? And I said, I don't know. I don't know the price of any bills. I don't pay bills. My wife pays the bill. I don't know anything. I don't know anything.
Because you are a kept man. You're a kept man. I mean, let's call it what it is, right? You are the arm candy in that relationship.
My wife takes care of the bills. I have a full head of hair, not very many grays. And she lets me know it. She's like, yeah, the reason is because I do all the bills. Yeah, I don't. I do. I'll say this. I manage the pool. There's a guy that comes and helps me open the proper pool company guy, and then he helps me close the pool in like October, November. But I manage it and I run it all summer long, all by myself. I take care of it. Any issues, I run. So I earn my keep around here.
You're the pool guy. You're the pool guy.
I am the pool
That's who
guy.
you are. You're the
I turn the music on.
you're the
I'm out there. I do the best I can.
you know what that's you know what though, but it's important to keep the pool nice, right? When people come over,
Yes.
it's a source of pride. It's kind of like a lawn, right?
100%. I'm
Like
so
a
happy
lawn,
you said
right?
that.
You have to have a nice
Yes.
kept lawn.
Yes. I'm
When
always
people come
telling my
over,
wife
it needs
that.
to look nice, right?
Yes. And you've been in my backyard. Now we bought it like that, right? The pool and then the landscaping.
Yeah.
But who do you think maintains the
Yeah.
landscaping all summer? This guy. I don't bring a guy in there to do it. I'm the one maintaining it. It looks like a freaking tropical garden out there because of me. I'm putting in the work, blood, sweat, and tears. So you're right. I don't pay the bills, but I do. I earn it in other ways. Yard work and pool work.
It sounds to me like you're feeling underappreciated.
I am a little
you need to express that.
underappreciated. No. I have to appreciate her. I can't complain about those kind of things. She works hard.
Yeah.
She we're just teachers, right? We're men of the people. We grind every day and we help America's youth, all that kind of stuff. But we don't earn the big bucks. You know what I mean? We don't earn the big bucks.
You don't get an education for the paychecks,
Right. That's true.
right?
That's true. But we grind, we work hard, all that kind of stuff. Now, I will say this, speaking of working hard, grinding, and sometimes not being appreciated, right? We got a great coach joining us today. We got Coach Choates from Lewis, who you and I have talked about getting on this show for a while. I mean, what do you think? I was very happy when he agreed to be on the show.
Yeah, and I think it's a different perspective, right? We've had some coaches who've had quite a bit of success for the last few years, and then now we have a coach who's kind of grinding away, trying to build a program back up from,
Yep.
some tough years. And so I think it's interesting to hear that perspective. It's kind of like when you go to a clinic. This story I've told you before. We were at a clinic once, and it's my buddy's story. And he said he went to go listen to a DB coach, and he was the DB coach from St. John Bosco, right? Multiple time national championship school. And he was in there, and he goes, well, I really can't talk too much about individual work because I don't do it too much because most of my guys have personal trainers who do all the individual work for me. Guess what, man? Did we have nothing to talk about? Because we don't live in the same world you live in.
Right.
I have kids who never played football before that I'm trying to just show how to backpedal or how to do certain things. We coach, we play the same sport, but we don't live in the same world. And I think having a coaching perspective of someone who's trying to become an emerging program is very different than a coach and don't get me wrong, you know, Doc and Voss, I mean, they were at programs that they had to try to bring there, but where they're at now is a very different place than where they may have been before, right?
Oh, spot on. Well said. Spot on. I mean, there are just as many coaches out there that are winning conference titles and trying to win state titles and all that kind of stuff, and that's awesome. I wish I could say I was trying to win a state title, um, but there's just as many coaches out there who are at programs that are rebuilding and struggling, and they want to hear those stories too. You want to hear about, okay, how organized do I have to be at a school that doesn't turn out a lot of football players, and we got to go knocking on doors to get kids to come out. I want to hear what that guy's doing. So sometimes it's not all about, and yeah, you do want to hear, what Bill Belichick's doing, and you want to hear what Andy Reid is doing, but I also want to hear what, Pete Carroll's doing in Vegas to kind of rebuild that program. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like that, right? It's not always about hearing what the Kansas City Chiefs are doing.
Yeah.
You want to see who's your boy? When Shanahan got to San Fran, they were struggling.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
So you want to hear those stories too. And speaking of being organized, I mean, I'll tell you what, I got the packet right here from Coach Choates that he gave to me. And I want to tell all the coaches out there that are listening and watching.
Is that glossy? Is that glossy print right there?
This is nothing but the best. This is fine Corinthian paper right here. Okay, this is the finest paper. All the coaches out there, you can send us a media packet. It's got everything. I mean, you got the schedule. Doesn't have rosters yet. He said those will come later, but it's got all the key dates. You name it. It's got the calendar. I mean, you name it, we got it here. Coach Choates spared no expense.
Yeah,
and he ponied it to us. You can pony it to us too. All you coaches out there, get us this stuff. And I'm going to say it now. We'll be saying it all July. We'll be saying it all of August. Get us those rosters. Get us those rosters. This is not 2024 anymore, sir. Get us those rosters.
Yeah.
No, but he did a great job putting that together, and obviously you can tell he's super organized. And looking at it, I remember when it was on TV. We're going to be interviewing the Washington Commanders Coach of the Year 2022. So I can't wait to ask him about that.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a good interview.
All right, well, let's get to it. All right, Coach Choates from Lewis High School. All right, welcome back. We got Coach Choates joining us now. Coach, happy to have you. Head coach at Lewis High School. And I should say when I intro you, I'm going to say, because I think it's an outstanding award, Washington Commanders Coach of the Year 2022.
Yeah, it was that was an exciting thing for our team and for our program. There were so many doors that opened because of that. It really is not just for me. It's actually a coaching award for our whole coaching staff. So every single one of the guys, I had plaques made, so they all have it says Coach of the Year with their name on it. So then they are a part of what we did, because I can't coach by myself. I had a whole bunch of assistants that helped with this. So that was a team award. And the kids, we got to go to a mini camp. We got to go to training camp. We got to go to a game and get on the field and get announced. We got cleats from the Commanders.
Wow.
We got all kinds of different things that they were doing, and the kids got to experience a lot of things with pro players. We even coached a flag football thing. So all the players were coaching younger kids in flag football in the bubble at Commanders Park. It was really cool.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Wow, that is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Are you Commanders fan? Out of curiosity, are you?
So my parents are from Georgia originally, so I grew up with the Falcons and the Braves. Now I am a Commanders fan.
You got to be one. You're the Commanders Coach of the Year. You got to be
absolutely,
a
absolutely. They got me some gear and stuff, so I wear my gear that they provided for me, and a lot of good times. Got to meet Doug Williams. I got to meet all kinds of Redskins greats from Gary Clark. Really cool experience. I mean, when you think about it as a coach, that's something that you work to help kids, but when you get that opportunity to do something like that, I mean, that's a big deal.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. And so what was Now, what year when you won that award? What year, coach?
That was
Were
year
you at?
two.
That was year two.
Mm-hmm.
And what went into like how did someone win that award?
Someone nominated me. So that's what happened. Someone nominated me when we got nominated just for Coach of the Week. We did a whole production at the school. When they came in, there was cameras set up. The kids were all wearing their jerseys. They were excited to get their cleats and excited to be part of what was going on with the Commanders. And the person who was in charge, her name was Mariah Sakalarius, was like, "What is this? Is unbelievable. This is great." And so she saw how we organized everything for the team, that she got real excited about it and nominated me for in our program for coach of the year. I mean, I was walking out of class. She called me randomly and I was in class. And when she told me, I like dropped to the ground. I was so surprised. It was so much. It was so like special. It was unbelievable. It was a big deal.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I asked is because are you, because it is 24/7 coverage now on the new RFK Stadium that they're doing. It seems like that's all on local news. They're not covering anything else. They're just covering the RFK Stadium.
It's a big deal. Growing up in this city, I mean, I used to I had different jobs for a long period of time. And one time when the Nationals first came to town, I actually got to go in the outfield of it just was like, this is amazing. Like, I'm on the field that Joe Theismann played on and Doug Williams and the posse played on and Capital Defense and all those great Redskins players at the time. It was a big deal.
Yeah.
It was a big deal.
Yeah, the RFK stuff. My friend growing up, his buddy or his dad, my buddy, his dad was a DC police officer.
Okay.
And I remember he got us in, and this is back in the old days. He could just be like, "Hey guys, I got my son and his buddy here." So they let us in, right? No ticket. Go around the back. I guess like where all the trucks pull in and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we go in through there, and we ended up being on the field. And I'll tell you what game. I actually remember what game it was. I think it was in ninth grade. But it was when Boomer Esiason, remember at the end of his career, he played with the Arizona Cardinals for like a couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he had a game where he lit up the then Skins for like 500 yards. He had he set a record passing in that game. It was that game.
Uh-huh. So it was probably 95 or 96.
Yeah, somewhere, maybe 94 season, 94, 95 season, something like that. So, well, Coach, thanks a lot for joining us today, man. We appreciate having you. Been wanting to have you on for a long time.
Coach, tell us a little about yourself. How'd you get started coaching? How long you been coaching? How'd you get into it?
So for me, football has meant so much to me. I had both my parents growing up, but I needed more, man. So football provided me more. My coaches, the friendships that I got. I was actually pretty good at catching a football, so I was, I had something going on. I played at Edison in the 90s. My coach was a guy named Coach Randolph. His son was our quarterback. So a lot of times in the summertime, me and his son were really good friends. So I saw a lot of the behind the scenes parts of football. He worked on football every day. It was either from organizing, the football helmets, from pumping footballs up, from getting us to go to a camp, from feeding people, from running down markers. I ran the scoreboard for the 7-on-7. I did all those types of things. So it was really interesting to me, and I really liked it. So I played football at Edison. I went to college at Marshall University. I was there when Randy Moss was there, Chad Pennington, and Byron Leftwich. So saw a lot of good football then. I was lucky enough that I worked for the campus radio station, and I got a job in broadcasting for about 5 years. So I covered sports in that area. And I always liked being around it, not just playing. I played flag football for 20 years. I still enjoyed doing that for a long period of time. And I was DJing. I was a DJ for a while. And it was, it was probably in 2007 or so. It was a really bad rainstorm, and a car crashed into the place where I was working and hurt a couple people. And then I was like, man, I don't know if I could be out late at night all the time doing this. People getting hurt, seeing bad things, people fighting and all that kind of stuff. And I went to Edison and talked to my coach, Sherman Deck, and was talking about, hey, man, I need to make a change. And he said, well, you should become a sub. So I started substituting at my old high school. As I was doing it, I met Vaughn Lewis, who was the head football coach at Edison. At that time, they had played in the state championship at one point. They were in the regional championship game like 3 or 4 times in a row, and he asked me to be a coach. And once he told me that, I dropped all that DJing stuff, and I went right to working on becoming a coach at Edison High School. I was there in 2008. We played Stonebridge at home for the regional final game. Unfortunately, they beat us. And then I coached there in 2009 also, and Coach Lewis retired. I went to Falls Church High School with Coach Aziz. I was there for 2010 and 11. Then I took a couple years off, got married, had a couple kids, and I started coaching at Lewis High School under Greg Pilson, who was the head coach. I was quarterback coach, and I did that for 2017, 18, 19. The 20 year I took off, and then they opened up the job in 2021, and I became the head football coach at Lewis High School.
Okay.
Wow, that's a unique story. I'll tell you what, I can hear it. I hear the little, the DJ broadcast journalism voice there, Coach.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So and you laughed at earlier, but the reason, and I'm not kidding when I say Mason and I have been talking about getting you on for a while. The reason I say that, your experiences as a head coach is different than a lot of the head coaches we've had on. It's a unique experience. Like I said, you and I were talking earlier. I coached, or I taught it at Key Middle School, which is one of the feeders for Lewis. And so I know. I mean that it's good soccer over there. My neighbor's the soccer coach, actually.
You talking about John?
Yeah, John lives down the street.
He's our kicking coach now.
Is he real? Oh, that's a good get. That's a good get.
We could talk about that a little later in the conversation.
Yeah,
but I forgot to tell you that I actually worked at Key Middle School also in 2016 and 17 before I started working at Lewis. I've been in that community for a long time. I can remember being a little kid, and my dad and my sister, my dad would jog around the Lewis track, and I'd read the funny papers eating candy while he was jogging when I was a kid. So I could walk to my parents' house, even though I went to Edison from Lewis pretty quickly. So I drove past that school all the time, going to the mall, riding our bikes to Lake Accotink, all the things that kids grew up in that area, the kids that I coach. I did the same thing as they're doing now. So we kind of have that bond.
You do. And the Springfield Mall, although I'm partial to old school Springfield Mall. So the Springfield Mall that we grew up going to is better, even though it's more upscale now, like trendy. It was hard. You remember Hong Kong and all those stores back in the day?
Yeah, I'm sure you probably went and bought some Spencer's gifts and bought the old fart spray and all that
stuff. That's right. That's right. Little Orange Julius.
Yes, Orange Julius right next to the timeout. Get a couple of baseball cards while you're there.
That's right. That's good stuff.
I was gonna say, you're talking about your experiences there. So how many kids do you have right now in the program total?
So we peaked a couple years ago at 75. We probably had 65 this year.
Okay. And you're carrying just two levels. You have the freshman and varsity. Well, that's pretty common for most of the national district, right? Most of the national is pretty much two levels. So when you got there, what are some things that you really had to work on to try to just keep the program going? I mean, you always worry when you start getting low numbers like that, like how much longer can you survive, doing this? Because football is a sport of attrition where you're going to lose guys, there's injuries and all the other things. So what are some things that you kind of put in place when you got there?
And actually, before you answer that, to actually give a little context there, we played you guys, and that was Mason's first year at Woodson, I believe, and the last game before you came on. So it was because you came on after the shortened season.
Yes.
Right. So we played you guys in the +1 game. The shortened season, and that was actually my son's first as a freshman. That was his first touchdown pass in that game, and then you came on right after. So we could see firsthand, kind of the pre-Choates, Lewis, and it, the numbers were kind of scarce and that kind of thing. So really, you did have to kind of build it up.
So the thing for us was we're coming off of COVID. That was the issue. We had 39 kids in the program. So I was going, knocking on doors. I was calling people. I was doing whatever I could. I was everybody's friend, whatever I could do to get kids to come out and play football. So we got to that point. We started growing the program. A lot of kids, you're not used to playing team sports. So we had to do a lot of talking to kids, a lot of, building kids, feeding kids, giving kids the things they needed to be successful, making sure we're on top of their grades. All those other pieces that we had to do besides the football piece is what we did to get the kids and get the numbers up.
Yeah. And people don't understand, people think, unless they're from Fairfax County, right, or Northern Virginia in general, it was, districts like, a lot of the teams in the national, some of the teams in Cardinal that were most affected with the numbers because a lot of the kids weren't, the families had to work and they didn't want the kids coming out and they had to miss time and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys really were impacted a lot more than some of the other schools.
So this goes back to some of the experiences. When I played football at Edison, we only had 1,100 kids in the school. We're a small school in the county. So I could remember being in practices on Thursday. We only had 22 guys. I had to play quarterback sometimes in practice. I played only offense because we just didn't have a lot of guys because they were playing JV and then other guys playing freshman. So that I was kind of used to seeing that. I was kind of we played for district championship game my senior year at high school, but we weren't a lot of guys on the team. So I'm kind of used to that. I talked to the kids about that. Everybody has a role, everybody has a chance to play. You just got to come to practice and give us your all,
So go ahead, Mason.
Other challenges you have, like I think about, I grew up in a pretty rough area in Long Beach, and I taught in Watts, which is in South Central LA. So, I know kids who struggle. And so, like, how do you handle kids who are working not because they're trying to get a new pair of Jordans, but because they got to work? Like, they got to work because if they don't, like, they got to contribute to the house. So, like, how do you handle things like that when kids have real life scenarios that they've got to deal with at home, and how do you work through that? I mean, what are some things you have in place for those guys?
We had to be real flexible as we started, giving kids and letting the parents know, hey, there's certain days where we're practicing at this time. We need your kid to be there. In the summertime when we lift the weights, that's the first thing. We lifted in the morning. So then kids had the whole rest of the day to work if they needed to work. We didn't have anything scheduled on the weekends, so then kids could work during the weekends. We did those types of things. A lot of communication with the parents about, hey, this is expectations of what we're trying to get to and why the benefit of playing football is important for your kids to be resilient as they get older. And then they started buying into what we were talking about. I had a couple coaches that spoke fluent Spanish, so they were involved with the parents a lot and talking to them about what was going on, so then they understood. We had one of the coaches, Coach Rodriguez. He was a kid who went to Fairfax High School, but he grew up with his parents not having a high school education, and they started building their way up. He's a lawyer. His sister's a lawyer. His other sister's a lawyer. So he was one of those students that his parents didn't come home right after school. Him and his sisters were in the apartment by themselves. He started playing football. And he talked about his story about how he played football. It opened up doors for him. And that's what the story that we told the parents of how this could help their son.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's impressive. And just keeping on that theme of just some of the impressive things we've seen from the program, I'm just reading this. You had 25 players. And again, I know that community. I taught in that community. You had 25 players with the 3.5 GPA or higher. That's impressive stuff, Coach.
We were on them about, really on them about their grades. It wasn't like when we were in school. You come hat in hand and beg the teacher to see what your grade is. And, they'll look down and I haven't got all the grades together. And then a day later, they tell you what your grade is. You got SIS now. You can look at your grade right away. You have Lancer time where you could go during school and get your work done. You have all these things that you can do, and we're on them about using these resources for them to be successful. Sometimes it's usually tough around the end of the quarter when that Wednesday, that's the late day, everybody stays. Then all of a sudden, why is nobody in practice? Because they didn't do their schoolwork. So then when I realized that, I'm on them about their schoolwork. There's grade checks. There's other coaches in the building that are looking at your grades, and we're on top of it. Principals will come and talk to us. If we have any issues. We went old school. We have multiple coaches in the school to stay on top of behavior and grades, and that's why that works.
How many coaches do you have in the building?
Right now, I think it's five coaches in the building.
That's impressive, Coach.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's very impressive. That's up there with some of the big boys, with Braddock and others.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, so we worked on it. And our baseball coach is our quarterback coach. The kicking coach is our soccer coach. One of the PE teachers is the kit man. He does all the equipment. One of the IAs is the offensive line coach and the special teams coordinator. So we could go on, and there's multiple people that are helping in the school system that aren't in our school, but are teachers and work in the school system and understand what we're doing at the school.
Do you know what your current enrollment is at Lewis? Do you know?
We're the smallest school in the county. We're about 1,600 kids.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, you guys are right, and I think sometimes people don't understand the problems with a school that has a small enrollment is, all right, if you look at what's really weird is majority of students are normally girls, and especially eligible, like kids who are eligible. So you end up get the majority of girls in the school. Then you account for ineligibility for kids who are ineligible. It makes that pool to pick from, because I'm sure there are kids walking around your campus just like most schools that are from lower SES statuses. You look around, you're like, that kid can help me, that kid can help me, that kid can help me, and then you're like, hey, want to come out? And then you take a look at his grades. You're like, well, I mean, if I can get you early, maybe I can get you eligible, but where you're at right now, I mean, we're just trying to get you to graduate. So I do think that's another struggle. I mean, I'm that you probably see at your school, right?
Yes, but the main thing is we have a lot of kids that didn't grow up playing football. So that's the struggle right there. So right now we're working on a thing. We have a thing called Rising Lancers, where we go down once a week and we're teaching the kids at Key football skills. We're playing games. So like tomorrow we'll be out there, we'll be working with the running back skills. Then next week will be the receivers. Then the next week will be defensive line, and then linebackers, defensive backs, and so forth. So the coach will come who coaches that position and work with the kids at Key, just to teach them how to play flag football, basically, just to get acclimated to playing sports in the high school level. That's the kind of stuff that we had to do to get these kids used to, hey, this is football. This is what you need to do. This is what it's expected, that you come and you're ready to go.
Yeah, and I think Fairfax in general. What's weird is that they're the only county that doesn't do middle school sports. Every other county, when you're in the 8th grade, and I wonder if some of them even do 7th grade, they are playing sports for their school at that point. So at least you're going to get some kids who played for their school. So schools that have population of kids who haven't really played the sport a lot. If we had middle school sports, you'd at least have a team of kids who would have done it before.
And me, even as a player, I was lucky I had older kids that played football in my neighborhood. So my neighborhood was a football neighborhood. We had a field and we played every day when I was in 8th grade. I could catch the deep ball just like Andre Rison back in the day. That was my thing. I do the duck walk and everything, just like him. So
Bad Moon Rising.
Bad Moon Rising, baby.
Yeah, I mean, I love hearing that. Like you said, that John, the soccer coach, you got the baseball coach, it's a community. You're putting everyone together. And I don't see that too many places. You don't see that in too many places. That's special.
It is. And
So
I go as far as with those guys helping us, and that they recruit players from the hallways to get us to where we're at. Coach Phillips is our baseball coach. He helped with the basketball team, and he's a quarterback coach. And he played football in college. He played baseball and basketball. So he's telling these kids to be multi-sport athletes. And I'm not hey, I want my guys to wrestle. I want my guys to run track. I want them to play lacrosse. Half the football team plays lacrosse. The other half's playing baseball or they're running track. Got a couple guys playing soccer too. So that's important to me. And the other guys who are not doing anything, they're lifting weights.
And I think a school with a small population, you have to have the kids have to be multi-sport athletes. You can't
Absolutely.
just hoard athletes. And a school that has a small population, you can't try to hoard them like that.
no, you can't hoard them. What are you going to say? No, I'm not allowing you guys to play. And they're going to be like, all right, see you later, coach. I'm not playing then. And you lose
Absolutely.
kids, right? You can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's great to have that. And for the same, I mean, Mason and I have been talking on our end, and we're gonna be helping out with the freshman program a little bit next year. And we're talking to Coach Craig at basketball. And Coach Craig, if you hear this, we got you in. He's gonna be helping us with freshmen. We're kind of, just for the same reason, right? If we got Coach Craig, future Hall of Fame, I'm about to make his head a little bit bigger. Future Hall of Fame Coach Craig, kind of getting those basketball kids into football and at a young age at freshman year, it's going to help the program down the road.
Yeah, because those skills they'll be tougher under the boards if they're used to playing football.
Right.
It always translates.
Yeah, I was coaching a lacrosse game the other night, and I shouldn't say I'm a coach out there, but I wasn't coaching. I'm out there, making my comments. But we kind of a couple ground balls. We kind of olayed, a couple ground balls, and I looked at some of the guys. And a couple football guys were out there. A lot of the guys aren't playing. And I said, guys, all you guys need to be playing. You don't need to be football first. I'll see you in August. But all you guys should be playing. It's going to make you, I'll tell you what, you guys wouldn't have olayed that ground ball just now if you guys were playing football. So it's going to make you better in your sport.
Absolutely.
I think sometimes the kids think, at least on what I've seen, oh, if I'm playing football, let's say, now I have to go to every 7-on-7. Now I have to go to every weight room and I'm not allowed to do, whatever sport or whatever activity. Yes, it'd be nice to have if they're free at those events. But I always tell them, I said, football, you need numbers too. I said, we need guys we also need guys just come out, especially if they're good athletes, guys who are off doing their own thing, maybe AAU all summer. All right, Johnny, we'll see you in August. We can throw a jump ball to you. You're fine.
Yeah.
Just do your thing.
So kind of going on to a little more football stuff. Tell us about the kind of brand of football they play in the national district. We've talked to the other districts. Just kind of give your experiences of what you see in the national. I mean, what do you see out there?
So right now, we are in a transition. There's a lot of new coaches coming in. So we have a football library where, you got the game plan, the offensive game plan, the notebook. Then you have the defensive game plan, the notebook from 2021 and then 22 and 23. And a lot of times you look and you're like, whoa, I can't use this anymore because there's a new coach at this school. And you're going through and trying to figure that out. There's a lot of pitfalls that some of these younger coaches are figuring out. I knew when I was going to coach at Lewis High School what I was getting into, and I knew that this was a project. Just like when you own a house, you're always fixing something on it. Same with the football program. You're always fixing something. So I knew that this was being a long haul. Some of the coaches that had came in didn't understand or knew what they were getting into. So there was some turnover. But you got, Chad Lewis has been doing it a long time. I coached under his dad. He's pretty stable over at Edison. He's been doing a good job. When I first came in, Monty Fritz did a really good job at Mount Vernon, and he was tough to deal with. Coach Aziz was at Hayfield, and those guys, all three of those guys were really, really good coaches, and they were really difficult to play against. The brand of football, it's always evolving. It's always changing. There's not as much stability as some of these other schools have. So you really need to have your X's and O's ready to go as you go against these different teams that are running different offenses and different defenses that you're not used to seeing. That wasn't the case for me as much when I was coaching at Edison. We'd go against Bruce Hanson, and Bruce Hanson was coaching when he was a head coach for 10 years plus before I was even playing. So we knew he ran the 6'2" wide tackle when I used to play. I played tight end, and I knew I would score some touchdowns against Yorktown because of that defense. You're not going to you got to really do your film. You really need to know what's going on with these other coaches. And it's always evolving with this district.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the one thing I was going to say. Outside looking in, it seems like there's not one thing. You can like kind of almost like, broadly kind of pigeonhole some of the districts and say, oh, you better bring your hard hat and lunch pail if you're playing the Concord, or Patriot once upon when you had, I'm thinking like when you had West Springfield airing it out, you had Woodson airing it out, you could always, Fairfax been a little more smash mouth, Blake Braddock airing it out. You could always say a little more run and gun over in Patriot. Liberty's kind of like you guys, I guess, kind of a little bit of mix, a little bit of everything, right? You get a little appetizer sampler. You might see a couple teams kind of smash mouth in national, and you might see a couple teams, kind of, air rating it out. It all depends on the team.
Yes. It had to be really fun.
So how's your off season? Tell me a little about your off season. I mean, how'd you go? I mean, some highlights you guys had this year. I mean,
going on right now. So we're lifting weights.
Okay.
We're doing that. We got the Rising Lancers going on. We basically, I came up with a packet that we are presenting to all the students, all the players and their parents have. I started thinking about it over Christmas break.
I got a packet right here, Coach.
One
good packet.
So all the parents can see what we're doing in the program for their players. It has information about our accolades that we've gotten. We had 32 players get all district. We had 4 all-region players. We had an all-state punter. You got to thank John for that. He did a really good job with that punter, who is also a soccer player. And then we have, our game schedules in that packet. We have our rules in there. We have the main thing that you always got to talk about, and you're talking about getting kids to come out, is the sports physical. We have the sports physical in the actual packet so these kids know, and we have the sports physical night in our I got a poster made so they know, hey, come to the school and get your physical done because you'll be ready to go on August 4th. And that's important. So we worked hard on that. That took, a lot of revisions and working with the people and activities department to help us with that.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of these accolades, Coach. Since you've been there, state guys, region guys, it's an impressive because I'm privy enough to have that packet.
Mm-hmm.
And what's missing on here? I don't see. You had a couple all Hitches player of the week guys. You didn't put that on here, Coach.
I think I ran out of paper, man. I'm sorry. Next time we'll put it on there. So next year's packet will have that on there. We do.
Yes, sir.
Lace Saban was our linebacker, and he did a really good job. He was playing against McLean and had an outstanding game against him. He ended up being an all-region player for us. So you guys were on top of it that he got to that level. So he
was like Zach Thomas. He had like 30 tackles in one game.
Yeah, he was unbelievable, smart kid. Also, he's one of those kids that has that 3.5. He's going to Penn State as a student, plays lacrosse also. He's the kind of guy, if I had a daughter, I'd be like, okay, I'd let you date my daughter. He's that kind of guy. Real nice kid.
Anybody have an outstanding off season so far? Is there any kids who stood out to you? I mean, anyone make big gains? Anyone you can think of off the top of your head? Not to put you on the spot, but is there anybody you're like,
someone to look out for, Coach? Someone to look out for, or maybe there's too many, but maybe a couple.
There's a couple. Ronaldo Linares is he played linebacker for us. He played some defensive line for us. Played some quarterback. Ran the ball some. He threw a touchdown pass. Caught a touchdown pass. Ran for a touchdown. He was a second team all district utility player on offense and defense.
Wow.
He's about 6'1", 205. He's playing baseball right now. I went to school at Marshall in West Virginia. So he's one of them wrestlers. He does some wrestling, and great kid off the field, gets good grades, nice kid. So they got some interest in him. And then we have a lineman named Oscar. He plays basketball also, and he's in the weight room slinging those weights up right now. They're both rising seniors, so those are two of the kids that are really standing out right now.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear that. And 7-on-7, I know we were with the Adam Schefter of NoVA the other day at the 7-on-7. You guys did not make it to Osborne Park. You guys have any 7-on-7s you guys are planning on attending this offseason?
Yeah, we'll probably do one or two. A lot of things shifted up with the South County hiring, and it changed some of the things that we were to do. They had a weekly one that we were going to the past years. Didn't make it out to Osborne Park. Coach Holland was our offensive coordinator 2 seasons ago. So we go way back. I've known him since 2017. And he's doing the same thing, building his program up out there. And he always talked to when we were together here at Lewis that he wanted to do these types of things to get people into the school and the facilities they have out there. They had brand new turf fields, really nice. He was an organizer. He was always pretty good and pretty friendly. So I'm glad that he's doing well with those tournaments.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was looking at your schedule, Coach, and obviously we're going to do a breakdown later on. But Mesa, first thing Mesa said, when's the TJ game? That's kind of the big rivalry now, sort of, right? You guys play some big games
that way. Yeah,
it is. I like that. That's week 5.
Week 5. So
homecoming.
We'll be playing them. Yep, for homecoming. They coach over there is a really nice guy. We talked quite a bit about some of the things of building programs and those types of things. He was a Mount Vernon player, so he's familiar with the area. A couple of the people that coached with him coached with me, so we know some of the same circles. We got Parkview. We'll be going out to Parkview. First game. We have Wakefield this year, and like you're talking about, Coach Martin. He was a previous Lewis head coach. We got Alexandria City. I had to not be too old school here. So those are our out of district games that we're playing. So
yeah, I like the schedule. I like the schedule for you guys.
We worked hard on it. We get you get the paper and you get to match your people up, and I think it worked out to our benefit. We just want to have competitive games.
Yep. I hear you. Believe me, I definitely. You hear us talk about it all the time. Just competitive ball games, man. Get the kids interested. Get the fans coming to see them. I'm so tired of some of these games that are just baloney between like a team that's going to freaking probably be in the state tournament versus teams that are struggling to win 3 games. It's not right. It's not right for the kids, the families, anybody.
I agree, and I think, and I'll say this as an older guy who's been around, I can remember playing in football games and we got beat 21-0. We're like, oh my gosh, we just got killed. And, because it was more of a run base, so the clock would go faster. And just some of these scores now are just getting out of hand. And, I've been on the losing end and as a player and as a winning end as a player. And then on same with the coaching. This is crazy. I've been on an 0-10 team before, and I've been on a 10-0 team before as a coach. So I know both, seeing how both sides of that it works, and sometimes there'd be games where we're just, you put a guy in and you're like, hey, we're beating this team pretty bad. Let's put in this fifth string running back. And next thing you know, you run a dive and the guy's scoring a touchdown. And you're like, man, we really didn't think that was going to happen. So I could see where some of that happens, but the throwing the football after a certain time and all that is kind of, not a big fan of that.
You mean you're not a big fan of onside kicks when the team is up 55-0?
Yeah.
I've seen that before. I've seen that.
And you got to think we're talking about kids here. It's not like I'm a grown man, another person's a grown man. If you have a problem with me, talk to me, do whatever. You don't need to take it out on kids. So that's just how I feel. I guess I'm old school.
Yeah. Like you're talking about scheduling making, and I am not a fan of the way they do it here. I really, I think it ought to be completely the head coach's call, and there ought to be no pick your 10 teams. Let's see if they match. You ought to be able to call whoever you want to and say, hey, I have a week 3 opening. Do you want to play then? And then make it that way. I think I don't, like I said, I'm not a fan with this. The DSAs meet up with each other and then they figure out what your schedule is based on who you ask for. I think it should be up to the head coach. I think nobody knows their team better than the head coach, and no one has an idea of who they'd rather play, right? For these kind of things.
For me, I have a really good relationship with my activities director, so we talk about that. It's not even like it's a multiple conversation that, hey, this is what I'm thinking. We talked about this. And you got to do your research. And then you're looking at the max preps. You're looking at film. You're talking to other coaches about, hey, do you think we can do this? I don't know any other way. So that's just what I know. So maybe it was different out west and, but that's what
I think you're spot on though. I think the key is the relationship you have, with the administrator and kind of doing this. That's a key part of it all. And which, by the way, John James, I coached his son back at Braddock Road. John was one of our team dads back in the day. So I'm a big John James guy. I like John James. It's outlaw John James. I like him.
And I told him he needs to shave his hair, and he looked kind of like Dan Quinn a little bit. So I said, just walk around Ashburn a little bit and see if somebody.
That's actually a good call. You're right. He would. He actually would.
But he's very helpful. He was a baseball guy. I mean, he won a state championship at West Springfield as a baseball guy. He's very knowledgeable, and it's nice to have somebody to talk to who's been through these pitfalls sometimes and guide you in the right direction. And our principal also, Alfonso Smith, he was a basketball coach, so we have the conversations from time to time about how I've had this issue. What's your suggestion in this? So it's not. That's the thing. It's not all me. There's conversations that I have. I mean, my wife's inside right now that we have sometimes because she is in a leadership position with her job. There's conversations with former coaches that I had as a player or I worked with. So it's a brain trust situation. And if you come in and you try to be a leader and you just think you have all the answers, you're not going to be very successful.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I like that philosophy. And we were talking at the beginning of the show before we got on camera about, kind of contracts with the kids and that kind of thing. And that takes you and administration working together and working well to make that stuff work, So I like that a lot. I think that's a good recipe for success.
And that's, it's kind of old school way. I always have open door policy. So people come and talk to me. We'll sit down and talk about something. A lot of the leadership at our school has the same policy because we got to figure out. And I had a really great principal when I was a student. His name was Luther Fennell. And he told me one day, he won the Washington Post Principal of the Year. And he said, you need to know what is best for your school and your situation. And that's where we know the kids the best. We are the professionals in the building, and that's what we need to do. And that's what we're trying to do at Lewis High School.
Yeah. Wow. Well, Coach, we appreciate you coming on today, man. We really do. But yeah, I think you kind of summed it up there. I think, and I like the organization. I think the communication. I think that is so key to be able to kind of relay all the. I mean, having the packet and having everything for your kids and relay and then working well with the admin. I think good things are coming your way. And like I said, I like that schedule. I like that
Yeah.
schedule for you guys. I do want to. Hopefully we can come around and see you guys. Mason and I are going to try and do our summer camp tours,
Okay.
and we'll be in touch, obviously, and
Mhm.
try and schedule something to come by and see you guys.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love the show. I like what you guys are doing. I think it's great. And I think, I mean, if you're an old school guy, remember reading the Fairfax Journal back in the day and you had stats in there, you had information. I remember walking in the locker room and they're like, oh, you're one of the starters, the blah, blah, blah. And everybody shows the paper and everybody's excited. So I want this for our kids to be able to see that high school football and high school sports matters. And that's important. You're not just some schlub walking the hallways, that you're doing something for your community and for your school. And people realize that. And so I really appreciate and thank you guys for doing this podcast. I think it's great for the sport. I think it's great for Northern Virginia to have this kind of coverage for sure. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Coach. We do appreciate that.
Mhm.
Well, everybody, Coach Choates from Lewis High School. Coach, good luck this season, and we know we'll see you soon.
All right. Thank you.
All right, take care. All right, welcome back. And I mean, look, we talked about it before, and organized, kind of, working hard, like he even said it, literally going door to door after COVID, trying to get people to come out.
Yeah, I go into the middle school just trying to get kids exposed to football. I mean, a lot of programs don't do that now, right? I mean, they don't have to worry. They get kids who know how to play football. He's just trying to go and be like, hey, this is what football is. This is what the linebacker does. This is what, just trying to expose them to some kind of football, which is impressive. I mean, it shows you how he's grinding through this same thing, right?
Oh yeah, I mean he's a lot of programs, and I know a lot of programs that they'll just send their freshman coach over there, and you go, no, he knows that he's got to go over there.
Yeah,
and I'm sure maybe the freshman coach goes over there too or whatever, but he knows like I can't afford to not get some eighth graders out, because when it's a small program, it's make or break. One or two guys is make or break.
right, right. Yeah, impressive stuff all the way around.
Yeah, Coach Choates, and we appreciate him coming on. And like I said, I mean, well organized. I like that schedule for them. I do. I told you I can't wait to do our breakdowns. We're only a couple months away now from these breakdowns, buddy.
Yeah. We'll talk about that stuff when we get there, though, right?
But I do. I'm telling you right now, I like the schedule, buddy. I like the schedule. I think you might have an interesting season here from the Lewis Lancers here in the 2025 season. I think, and like he was saying, it was smart to, look, all he wanted was apples to apples.
Yeah.
Right. Which I think that's all any program could ask.
Play competitive games, right? Play competitive games.
Yep. That's it. So we'll be seeing Coach Choates and some of the Lancers. We try and get around, later in the summer at some of the schools and kind of do our camp hopping.
Yeah. Sounds like fun.
All right, buddy. Well, you keep watering that grass there, pal. You got to keep doing it. And they say sundown is important.
Yeah. But I get up at 5 and I water it a little bit in the morning before the sun comes up, and then when I get home, I wait till about 7 o'clock when the sun is no longer hitting my grass. So.
And don't mow it too early; you'll kill it.
Yeah. You're supposed to wait until it's between 4 to 5 inches before you mow it.
Yep.
So I plan on next couple of weeks and see how it goes. So we'll see.
Okay. All right. I had a successful run one year.
Did you?
Growing grass. It died like 2 years later, but it was a great run while it lasted. It was a good run. All right, buddy. Well, look, I can't wait to do this all again next week, my friend.
Yeah.
And some more 7-on-7s on the horizon as well.
We got. I think we have a big interview coming up pretty soon.
We'll tease it, right? We're gonna go ahead and tease it. We're a month. We're 2 weeks away, so we'll tease it right now. Talk about the 14th. So yeah, big one coming up. Probably airing on our May 14th, May 15th episode. Will be the incomparable one, the great one, Tom Horn. head of FCPS athletics. He agreed to come on the show. We're going to do it. And it's gonna be a great interview. We talked to him. We're looking forward to it.
Lots of big news to talk about.
We can find out about the playoffs. All types of stuff. Things that people, some of the new rules, right? Some of the new transfer rules, and all that. Kind of figure what's going on, right? Even some of the I got questions about, and I know some of the stuff is not quite what he can answer, but I'm just curious in general what people who are more know what's going on in the county. The boundaries.
Yeah, and because no one listens to part of the show, if you got a question that you'd like to ask Tom Horn, put it out there. But no one listens to this anyway, so
you know what? You are incorrect, sir. There was a guy that you said, we said this. If you're still listening,
it was a Russian bot.
No, that guy said I'm listening. He said still listening. So, but you're right though, and we'll preview this again. But if you're listening and there's something that realistically you want to ask Tom Horn about FCPS athletics going forward, we're not looking backwards.
Yeah.
But looking forward with FCPS athletics, let us know and we can kind of try and ask questions. That's a little sneak preview. Sneak preview right there. You don't get this anywhere else, buddy. Get it right here. Right here. For 2 months, I got you, Bender. 2 months. All right. Well, buddy, I will see you next week, my friend.
Yeah, I'll see you then.
All right. Well, from Dash and Mesa and all Hitches, we'll see you next time.
See ya.